It validated me both as a political person and as a writer.
Armistead Maupin shares how the fun of being a writer is in the fiction.
So I want to begin in talking about this moment. You know, we're in the middle of history, in the making, as they say. Your work is situated right in the middle of that. So from your perspective, what it is about this moment that's interacting with your work?
I'm going to be 70 in May, and I have my career, this telling of this story that I've been telling, has gone on for 40 years. And in that 40 years, I have gone from being a mental illness and a crime, what I am is a mental illness and a crime, or was for many, many years. And now to see it embraced in the mainstream, it feels the same way in our hearts. Whoever we are, that thing feels the same way, and the notion that the country's finally grasping that. I'm really proud to have been part of this revolution. When I started writing my books in a newspaper, a daily newspaper, back in the mid-70s, it was hard to do. They were very, very wary about my even writing about the gay experience. So to answer your question, it's exhilarating for me. I love the journey my life is taken, and you know, where in history that has been. You know,
what role, in your opinion, does fiction particularly play in these kind of changes, these kind of shifts?
Well, I think what I was able to do was to not only let the straight world see the sort of lovely, messy ordinariness of being gay. Gay people, young people that were struggling with it, felt that they had a place in the world. My books all revolve around an address in San Francisco, 28 Barbary Lane, and I deliberately put a little bit of everybody at this apartment house. And I think that I sort of gave them permission by creating this sort of cozy story. Fiction is such an intimate thing, you know. It's just your own brain and the words on the page, and you become complicit in the story. You give people enough words to shape their own images of something, and then they're with you. They're part of it. In fact, they're giving you credit for things that you haven't even done, because their own mental process is involved in it.
Exactly, and you know, in those characters, right? A little bit of an aside, but you know, what I've found when I've read about your work and then read your work myself is that people, including myself, fall in love with these people, right? These characters that you have at this address, which really puts a face on it and makes it really like they're your neighbors.
It becomes personal. That's the single thing I hear the most. More and more now, it's like visiting old friends. And that's precisely because it's been going on for 40 years, and these people have grown old along the way. And yet there are young people today that will start reading it and work their way through all 9 novels and have an entirely different experience, you know. Maybe in some ways see the ways in which my generation is not that different from yours.
Sure. So why fiction?
It's storytelling. It's an old-timey American thing of sitting around a campfire and telling a story. And you know how to, you learn how to draw people in and embody certain things, whatever they might be, but you can manipulate it accordingly. I wanted very badly to manipulate nonfiction when I was working at the Associated Press 40 years ago. And that's when I realized it wasn't for me. I couldn't make the story better than it really was. But if you're writing a novel, if you're writing a story, you can do that. And I think your own consciousness, as a poet, you know this, your voice, your own voice is heard through your creation.
Could you tell me a little more about that, the difference between the nonfiction and the fiction?
You're not supposed to mess with the nonfiction.
Right.
That was quite simply what it was for me. I actually quit the AP saying I wanted to do something more creative because when you have a storytelling instinct, that's quite different. There are great journalists who know how to pull the facts from here and there, and they're all true and put them together. But for me, the fun was in the writing of fiction. And there's been a long tradition of serial storytelling. when I talked the San Francisco Chronicle into letting me write this thing back in 1976, I was hauling out Dickens and Wilkie Collins and all these 19th century writers who made stories so compelling that people actually went down to the ships, to the docks in New York, and waited for the next shipment to come in where Dickens's latest chapter could be found.
I like this idea that there was something that wasn't part of the narrative, that wasn't being done in the journalism world and in the nonfiction world, and this personal piece that you could add through these characters, these fictional characters.
That's exactly right.
Is that what was
I mean,
missing?
it wasn't being done. They were. I want to stress that my stories include everybody.
Sure.
I have gay and straight characters and bisexual, and there's a transgender landlady, and the fun for me is mixing it up and showing how their hearts are all the same.
Sure.
But there was no gay coverage per se of life in San Francisco in 1976 in the newspaper. My colleague Randy Shilts, who wrote a great book on the AIDS crisis called "And the Band Played On," he was the first reporter that was sort of covering the gay beat in San Francisco. But Tales of the City predated that. And in a way, I could get away with it because it was fiction. It's named that, interestingly enough, Tales of the City, because the editors at the paper said, "We'll let you do this, but we want to make it clear to our readers that you're writing fiction in a newspaper." So they gave me a choice of the San Francisco Story and something else and Tales of the City. And I thought Tales of the City had a really nice ring to it. It had a slightly Dickensian ring to it because of A Tale of Two Cities.
Could you tell us a little bit about the difficulty in first getting your stories published?
Well, once I got them in the newspaper, and it became clear that more people were subscribing to the newspaper just to read the story, I had more and more power. It's like anything else. You get a little success, and they know who you are, and they let you do it more, and they give you credit for doing it. In fact, at one point, they thought I was being a little too firebrand over, well, you're probably too young to remember, but there was a singer named Anita Bryant who
I know the name.
she led an anti-gay campaign in South Florida, and I addressed it with my characters. I got called into the front office saying, you know, don't let your politics get in the way of this. And I said, this is life. This is what people talk about. This is how it works. And I gained a lot of good friends among the women in what was euphemistically called the people department. It was the old women's, they had something called the women's section. And then when feminism, I know, imagine.
Right.
Like, women just want to read something different, you know?
Right.
But they finally, as feminism came along, they finally called it the people department. And it was still women, but they were my friends. And one time they called me up and said, they're going to pull one of your columns. Because I had a backlog, you know, so they could just
see it in advance.
Precisely because they wanted to do that. And they said, they're going to pull one of your columns. And I called up the editor and said, if you pull it, I'm out of here. And that's when I realized what power I had.
Sure.
The story was mine, and it was mine to tell, and it was very satisfying, actually.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, because it validated me both as a political person and as a writer.
Sure. And they tried to censor you.
Yeah.
To you, what is important about your work?
I'm very proud as a storyteller of having told a story with a shape that covers 9 novels, and yet each one of them is self-contained. As a writer, I feel satisfaction about that. As far as its importance is concerned, I think I opened up the world to brand new subject matter. It seems rather almost ordinary now because we're settling into understanding how the world works, and people know about the existence of LGBT people, at least. And I think, I mean, that's really, if I had to pick one thing, I'd take that over writing. I mean, I'd say that's what I'm proudest of, that I made people feel good in their own skin and made other people step back and see where their judgment comes from. I'm a Southerner, and I was raised with, you can imagine,
Yeah.
a panoply of prejudices were put on me. But when I came out as a gay man, when I moved to San Francisco and suddenly took a look at my own oppression, then I had to look at everybody else and see, it was a lesson in empathy. And I think writers in general have to know how to empathize, because that's how you tell stories. You have to climb into everybody's skin. I'm grateful that writing gave me that, and for me, the coming out process
Sure.
gave me that. Not all gay people let their own liberation change their attitudes about other people. I can see that when I look online at comments boards that horrify me.
Yeah.
Not everybody's got a big heart, but I think if you go through any kind of experience where you feel that yourself, then it should open you up in all other directions, and that will make you a better writer too.